Hey, welcome back, scholars. We are going to continue to work in place value. Today, we are looking at how it is we will be able to order numbers by value. Again, we're going to do that with some steps. We're going to set up with our directions. We're going to stack our values, fill in blanks, and cross off. All this will make sense as we go. So don't worry. Let's just dive in. We're going to go ahead and look at a certain problem here. Maybe it will tell us a typical scenario might be to order these values or numbers, these numbers or values from largest to smallest, right? So maybe that's our first direction. And then it's going to give us a series of numbers. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, here, here. All right, so here's our problem, right? We got four numbers. We need to put them in order from their largest value to their smallest value. So again, step one, I always really like to think about setup with your directions. What I mean by that is I always like to look at how many numbers I have. I have four numbers. So I'm on my paper going to make four blanks, knowing I'm going to have to fill those in with these numbers. And then I got to think about the order, right? It says we want to go from the largest to the smallest. So I'm going to put an L here to remind me that that's my largest, and an S here that that's my smallest. So that's like the order that I'm going in, right? Because as we talked before, we're always moving left to right in the way that we read numbers and the way that we do things in math. So that's setting up with my directions, right? I followed largest to smallest. Here's my numbers, set up. Okay. So next we're going to stack our values. This is very similar to what we did last time with using equalities, but this time we have more than one number. So I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to say 382. I'm going to stack 328, 823, 833. All right. So I am looking for my largest values first. So I'm going to start in the hundreds place. And I'm going to notice that I have a 300, a 300, a 800, and 800. So these two are going to be largest because 800 is always going to be more than 300, right? So these are the two numbers I'm looking at now, which means I got to look into these two and see, well, what's next? If the hundreds are the same, let's move into the tens. Well, here I have 30 and here I have 20. So this becomes my largest value. So that goes into filling in the blanks and crossing off. So here's my first value. It's the largest one. So I'm going to write that in this blank right here. I'm going to cross it off. I don't need that number anymore. Now I kind of go back and reassess. What's the next largest number I want? Well, again, if I look at this group here, right, I don't have to look at this one anymore. It's done. I have 300, 300, 800. Oh, well, 823. That's definitely the next largest. I can cross that off. Now I'm going to go back to my last two numbers and think about it. I have a 300 and a 300, so those are equal in value so far. So let's move to the tens place, and I have an 80 and a 20. So this 80 is going to be larger than the 20, which means 382 is my next largest, and then I finish with 328. And that's really all this process is about, right? And what's important about it is that we kind of follow these examples and think about what it is it's asking. So let's look at another example. Let's come up with some numbers here. Let's go 1,384. Let's go with 1,843. Go 1,483. Let's go with these three numbers. And this time, let's go with the idea of putting them in order of smallest to largest. Now this can be tricky because there's a lot of different vocabulary. Sometimes it might be the least to the greatest, right? So we have to understand what those words mean. We'll talk a little more about that. But let's go ahead and just set up with this. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers, right? So I'm going to set up with my directions. So if I have 3 numbers, I need 3 blanks. I know I'm going to fill those in with these numbers. Next, I'm ordering from smallest to largest, which means this time I'm going to start with my smallest value and end with my largest. Again, write those letters in there. It's very helpful. I see students do it all the time, and it really benefits. It helps them kind of think about the order. And then let's stack. So taking my values, writing my numbers, place value on top of place value, right? Thousands with the thousands, hundreds with the hundreds, and so on and so forth. So let's walk through and see this time what is going to be our smallest number. Well, if we look in the thousands place, they all have 1,000. So they're all equal in that point. So let's move to the hundreds place. Now again, I want the smallest value, 300, 800, 400. Aha, this is going to be my smallest value. So that's the first one I'm going to put in, cross it out because I know I've used it, and then move on to the remaining two numbers. Again, thousands are the same. Let's look in the hundreds, 800, 400. Aha, here's my next smallest value, right? Because 400 is less than 800. So I'm going to go 1,483, cross it out, and then 1,843 would be my next smallest, or the largest, right? It's kind of like how you want to read this. Okay, so this is working out pretty well, right? We're doing good with this. So let's just continue to walk through that process. I'm going to give you some questions. For a question here, I'm going to ask you to order from least to greatest. So using those vocabulary terms again. And if you could do that with 854, 844, 853, 862, 809. So this is that point right now where I'd like you to go ahead and pause and see if you can't do this on your own, and I will walk through it, but go ahead and give this a quick pause. See if you can't solve this on paper, and then let's go ahead and check that together. So here I am waiting for you to pause the video. Okay, welcome back. I know you already did this, right? So let's check our answers. Let's walk through it together and see what we get. We have step one, set up with your directions. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers this time. So I'm going to do 5 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blanks. Wants me to move from my least to my greatest. So I'm going to put those letters down there. And again, remembering the difference, like what does it mean by least? This L means least, not largest. So don't get tricked by that one. Okay. And then we are going to stack our values. So this is going to help us look at what we got. So I have 854, 844, 853, 862, 809. So I'm looking for least. I'm looking for the smallest, right? That's what this least means. It means the smallest value to put in first over here. So let's start in our hundreds place. They are all equal. Everything's the same. So we're going to move into our tens place. And again, this time we're looking for the smallest amount of tens. So let's see, I have 5, 4, 5, 6, so a 50, a 40, a 50, a 60, and a 0. Oh, well, 0 is definitely going to be the smallest one I have in there. So that's going to be my smallest value. Cross it out. Now we go back to the process and look again. Hundreds, they're all the same. Right? We're looking in here. They're all the same. So let's move back to the tens. We have a 50, a 40, a 50, and a 60. Well, 40 is going to be smaller than 50 or 60. That's going to be my next value. That's the smallest. Okay. Now here's where things get tricky. These two numbers are gone. I have these 3 numbers left. I look in the hundreds place again and notice again they're the same, right? So I move into my tens and I have a 5 and a 5 and a 6. I'm looking for the smallest value. That's going to be 50. But I have 2 of them. So what am I going to do? Aha, I'm going to look into the ones place now. So if we look over in the ones place, I have a 4 and I have a 3. Well, the 3 is going to be the smallest, excuse me. So 853 is my next smallest value. And then 854 would come next, which makes sense if I was counting. And then 862. So those are the pieces that I have in there. So I'm going to put one more up here to have you think about it. But while I'm doing that, I do want to remind you again, you're going to be able to see all this stuff on Schoology with quizzes. So this is just one to keep you thinking. So order from, let's say, largest to smallest. And I want you to do that with 2,341, 2,491, 2,399. So I'd like you to go ahead and try these out, right? And again, you got other things on Schoology. Post if you have questions. Go into the comment section, ask questions. We'll come through. We'll help you out, as well as think about the quizzes that are going to go with this skill. But go ahead and see what you can do with this, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for your hard work today.